We're joined by Roy White here on Optimum Channel 78. Count 1-0 with one out. Fastball high, 2 balls and no strikes. You mentioned Mickey Mantle. What are your fondest memories of the Mick?
One of my greatest moments in baseball was actually the first time I walked into the Yankees clubhouse and looked over in the far right-hand corner, and there was Mickey Mantle. Had no idea I'd ever be on the same team with him.
There were 2 periods of transition, that being one, of course, when the Yankees became contenders again and won 2 World Series championships in 77 and 78. In your mind, when did those Yankee teams turn the corner?
Well, actually, I played with Mickey Mantle for 3 seasons. So he actually retired in '69. So I was with Mickey 66, 67, and 68. And actually hit cleanup behind Mickey in 1968. That shows you how bad our team was then, that I had to hit cleanup. But we started turning around, I guess probably in the mid-'70s when George Steinbrenner came in and Gay Paul was the GM. They started making some deals. But George came in and was willing to open up the vaults. He wanted to have a winner back in New York, and right away you could see things were different, and our team started improving right away.
You mentioned George Steinbrenner. What are your fondest memories of him?
Let me think about that. One main thing about George is he wanted to be a winner, and him coming in and making the deals and spending the money and making the Yankees a great team like they had been in the past. All that together is, all fond memories.
Growing up in California as a teenager, when the Dodgers were relatively new out there, who did you emulate growing up, Roy? Who did you want to be like?
Well, my favorite team was actually the Cincinnati Reds, because they had the cut sleeve uniforms, which were cool. So all the kids like that, and they could hit. They always had a great hitting team. They had Gus Bell, Wally Post, Ted Kluszewski, later on Frank Robinson and Vada Pinson and those guys. So I liked the teams that could hit. So I used to follow the Reds, and I was not a Yankee fan, really.
When did you realize that you wanted baseball to be a part of your life?
Well, from the time I was in Little League, I wanted to be a big league ball player. And that reality came true after a game in American Legion game, I guess, in '61. The scout from the Yankees knocked on the door. I had no idea he'd been watching me, and he had a contract in his hand. He said he'd been watching me for several months, and that was the type of player that they wanted in the Yankee organization. And he wanted me to sign with the Yankees. So I was like in shock. And it took me a couple of days to decide, since I just lived with my mom. I talked with my coach, and he says, well, it's your decision. You want to play pro ball, or, I was going to go to college. And I said, well, I want to play pro ball. So the Yankees were the first team to make that offer, so I signed with the Yankees.
How about that feeling of walking into Yankee Stadium for the first time?
Well, the only game that used to be on, almost the game of the week, was always the Yankees playing, back in those days. So Yankee Stadium was the temple of baseball. So they actually walk into the original Yankee Stadium, not the renovated one that we all know now, was just a tremendous thrill. Because I'd seen Mantle play there, and the old films, watching Joe DiMaggio play there. So it's just unbelievable, really.
Roy, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be with you.
Absolutely. Roy White, 15-year Major League career, top 10 in every New York Yankees offensive category, 2-time All-Star, 7th all-time in games played. We thank him for sharing his time this evening with us at Provident Bank Park. 7th inning stretch. We'll be back after this. This is Rockland Boulders Baseball.